about the pivot earlier. So that's the assessment of your management team, and then maybe the introduction of you bring in a new managing director or someone to help, or that the ownership. I'm trying to how do I refer to? I think the managing directors are those that come from the VC firm hires, right, to come in and oversee operations,
Right.
and in many cases working with the is that me or you? I guess that was me. Sorry. To just kind of assess. Okay, yeah, we've got something good here, and the managing director will just help to scale that, or we're kind of there, but introduce some new ideas and maybe possibly a new direction, but at the same time knowing that team can pivot with that. Is that accurate?
That is really accurate. And I can say, I can give you an example.
Sure.
So in my last cohort, last fall, I did an investment accelerator program. And one of the companies named Bev Live, shout out to
Bev Life.
Bjorn.
Yeah.
They were delivering a live streaming platform that connects wineries to consumers.
Okay.
And they met a lot of potential mentors. So part of the program is we introduce them to 75 mentors and up to 100 investors. And they had gone through meeting after meeting, and it just didn't really resonate with the people that they were speaking to. And so we did a whiteboarding session, and we really dug in to kind of understand what it is they're delivering. And when we broke out all of the pieces of what they were delivering, they were actually delivering software and tools to help wineries grow their direct-to-consumer business. And so a slight pivot in how they presented themselves and how they positioned themselves allowed them to grow much more quickly because it resonated with the wineries.
So was the shift away from software towards tools, or the other way around? Or
No, it was just a shift in the mindset of exactly what it was that they were delivering.
okay.
So they had an emphasis on live streaming and entertainment value and bringing consumers, when what the wineries were really looking for was the tools and the software
Okay.
that brings it all together and gets them more direct-to-consumer business.
Yeah, I guess they would be, if I was receiving the presentation, just in you explaining it hurts my head a little bit. I'm trying to think, what's going on here? And if that's confusing, then they're like, hey, I'm out, right? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And so then from the VC standpoint, the value is, and the mentoring that these entrepreneurs receive from you all is don't take offense, just constructive feedback. People, they're not understanding your product, right, or your service.
Right.
I guess that's a lot like what happens on Shark Tank,
Right.
right, where they're just confused.
100%.
Right. And how often are these entrepreneurs pretty receptive to that feedback, or do you see some people dig in and just pride gets in the way and nobody knows better than them?
We see all ends of the spectrum, right? So we know, though, that the ones that are most successful are the ones that are sponges and are open to feedback and are open to kind of taking in ideas and putting them in their internal feedback loop and figuring out what works for them. Those are the most successful entrepreneurs. I've had a few entrepreneurs that they know what they're doing. They don't want to take feedback. They don't want help doing it.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that typically stumble and don't grow as fast as the entrepreneurs that are open and willing to kind of think outside their own boxes.
Let's pull up the website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to this view. It kind of blocks you out. You can see on the top right, you actually see the page, right?
Yep.
And for everyone else, it's just and kind of a picture in picture. So this is the main, I would say, the main site, corporate site generator. Mm-hmm. And then it shows, I love stats like this, where it says, there's 228 accelerators going on right now. It's just a dashboard. And then you scroll down to, let's look at investment accelerators. And then you scroll down, and then it's by state. Like, oh, here we are in Alabama, and then we go to Generator Huntsville, which is you.
Mm-hmm.
So, a couple origin questions. First, when did Generator Huntsville come to be? When did that come to be?
So that was 2021. We worked really closely with RCP companies.
Yes.
And they developed the Mid-City Accelerator Foundation. And they were instrumental in bringing Gener8tor to Huntsville.
Okay. So then you came in 2022.
Right.
So a year after that.
So Gener8tor launched in Huntsville in 2021, and they ran a venture studio program, which is a program that we work with founders. They don't necessarily have a company yet.
Okay.
They might have a really good idea, and we take a pretty large ownership share in building the company and building the technology around that founder idea. So we launched with a venture studio program as well as a G Alpha program and a G Beta program. And those are two pre-accelerator programs. Again, the goal is to kind of start to build a pipeline of startup companies in Huntsville. So that's what happened in 2021. In 2022, we launched our inaugural investment accelerator. And we had 5 companies in that program in the fall. They all successfully graduated the program and are moving on to do really amazing, great things.
So then they, going back to what you said, where I think you said around 80% of a fund manager's portfolio fails, then Gener8tor's idea is you will decrease the number of failures through, well, kind of a secondary market type thing, or really focus, I guess. Okay, so focusing on the secondary market, not spreading yourself maybe between first and secondary and tertiary, and also just having a lot more of involvement at the community level and building those relationships, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Is that
100%?
And so that does there some sort of metric where it reduces from 80% now to 50% or 40% on the failure rate?
I wish I had those numbers.
Yeah.
I think we're still trying to figure it out.
Okay.
Some of the things that we're doing as a venture firm, we know that a big portion of our companies are going to fail because we're investing in out there ideas. But I can tell you that Gener8tor's fund is performing above average in the industry. We're one of the only venture capital firms that is really transparent in what our portfolio base is from a diversity, equity, and inclusion standpoint. No other venture capital firm is listing those stats. And I can tell you that our return
There's stats right there for you, right? I think these are your DEI numbers,
Yep.
right? So that kind of, like you said, you're being transparent on just very different categories here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And our belief system is, as an accelerator program, we only take 5 companies into each cohort. So a lot of other investment accelerators will do bigger programs, and they'll have kind of canned programming, and everybody goes through the same curriculum. And we have really taken a concierge approach to investment accelerators, and we meet founders where they are. So, for example, in my fall investment accelerator program, we had a company that sells a product that's $4 million a year, all the way down to a company that is a delivery service. And so pennies on the dollar kind of business. And we work hand in hand with them all through the program and beyond. So I have regular meetings with all the companies that I've worked with. And it's not a one and done type of relationship. It is, we are your partner as long as you need us to be.
And how long is the cohort?
So for an investment accelerator, the program is 12 weeks. For the G beta programs, it's 7 weeks. And for the G alpha program, it's 4 weeks.
Okay. Can you explain each of those
Yeah.
a little bit more?
Yeah. So
Let's start with the alpha, the
Okay.
G alpha. We'll go small to
Yeah.
bigger.
So G Alpha is a super fun program. It's 4 weeks long, and it's for entrepreneurs that are really wanting to solve a problem. They could have a business idea or not have a business idea. And it just is 4 weeks to kind of get people thinking about what problem are they solving, what's the market size, who's the audience, how would you present this, what would a pitch deck look like. And so really kind of in that formulation mode. The next program kind of takes it from there and says, as a pre-accelerator, how can I get companies formalizing a pitch deck, putting together an executive summary? And an executive summary is kind of like a resume for your business. How do I test the market? What does my MVP, minimum viable product, look like? You know, is it done? Can I get it done while I'm in the program? And can I start doing a beta program or selling to my customers? And so it's really that in-between stage. Then your investment accelerator is once you've got a minimum viable product and you've got a couple customers, and now you're really set to go to market. The investment program really puts the foundation in place for that.
That made me think of, I think that concept of MVP comes from MVI, the minimum value increment, like in software development. So in like Agile, people talk about Agile and scale, and my experience was just to, and this is interesting how like which one came first. It may have, a lot of the interesting methodologies have come from like software development and that whole thing. And so the idea is like, okay, you know, I think Microsoft may have been the first one to really kind of pioneer this. Like, you don't have to have the perfect software, just get something out there,
Right.
rich, you know, and then you have a call center
Right.
that works through all the issues, right? And then you just keep improving and improving as customers give you feedback. But the idea was, what is, you know, like you're going to work for 3 weeks and then you have a delivery, and then you're going to work for another 3 weeks and you do a delivery, and you have a customer or a manager that's constantly helping you with, are we working on the right things? But ultimately that minimum value is, what can you deliver?
Right.
Right. And then you're going to deliver that. And then your next delivery, when is that going to be? Is it going to be in 3 weeks or 4 weeks? And what is the minimum additional value that goes to that customer? And it's a whole different mindset where you're just constantly working on these little tiny things and these tiny improvements, and you're just constantly delivering.
Right.
Right.
100%.
To a customer.
And that's exactly the premise of a minimum viable product. It is, what is the bare minimum you need to put in front of a customer so they can start giving you feedback? You know, traditionally in product development, you have a product roadmap, and the roadmap is for the next 3 years, and this is the feature set that you're going to deliver over this. That is not the concept in kind of the startup world. The startup world is you put the minimum product out there, you get feedback from your customers before you ever build any features.
Do they do the whole book of work type thing where there's some sort of, even if it's subjective, some sort of scoring system, and then therefore everything, let's say it's out of 500, then you start with 500 and 499, whatever those features are that have the highest score, but then you're constantly revisiting that, right? And saying, well, what score would you give this? Well, I give it a high, and I'll give it a medium, I'll give it a low. And then those things kind of constitute that MVP delivery, right?
Yeah. One of the best resources, I think, out there for people that are thinking about minimum viable products and how to test for future is the Lean Startup.
Yeah.
It really breaks down the value of getting feedback before building, which is totally different than what happens in a traditional development cycle for an established software.
Yeah. I need to throw that Lean in there, because I always get them so, there's scaled Agile framework, and there's Agile, and there's Scrum, and there's Lean, and somewhere in that, I think I understand it, but the more time goes on, I get it. But I think I understand the concept.
Yeah.
So that's probably a difficult challenge at times to